What is up, everyone? We got another UFC Fight Night card to break down from a Draftkings DFS perspective. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching the videos, liking the videos, subscribing. I really do appreciate the support. It's really helped, motivate me to keep doing this. And with that being said, I'm going to be doing a live stream this Friday to talk about lineup construction and ownership. So I hope that gives a deeper layer and insight into what I think are the good plays, accounting for ownership. Because for this video, we're ignoring ownership, which is the elephant in the room, so to speak. So ownership is important. It's obviously very important. So I want to make a Friday live stream to discuss that more in detail. But for now, we're just going to be price shopping. That's all we're doing here. We're trying to get the most bang for our buck, given the salaries, and try to figure out what are the good plays. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start off by talking about the first fight. Chad Anheliger versus Charalampos Grigoriou, I think is how you say it. So we got Chad Anheliger at 7.3K, and he's plus 140 money line. It's honestly a touch of line value, but it's nothing significant. And then for Grigoriou, he's 8.9K. I'm going to want to see plus 110 out of Grigoriou to make him a good play for an ITD line, and he's just plus 150. That's not great. And he's pretty much a pure striker. And then we got Chad plus 330. I guess that's fine. The thing is with him, I can't get a good read on what he's going to do. He has shot takedowns. He hasn't shot takedowns in some other fights. So I'm not convinced on his win condition, really. But I think with the okay ITD line and the line value, I think he's a fine play. And then Grigoriou, I think, is a fade at 8.9K. Does he have significant volume? Not really. So I think Grigoriou is probably a fade. Then we got Corey Mckenna versus Jacqueline Amorim. So pick 'em fight. It should be 8.2K, which it is. Maybe a tiny bit of line value on Corey Mckenna. But this is, the Blades versus Almeida 2.0 from last week. You got Amorim. We know she's going to try to shoot takedowns. We know she has finishing upside. And she also is known to gas out in fights. So you could see a lot of her wins come in round one, particularly. So I think Amorim is a good play, especially at only 8K. And McKenna is just not really a finisher, not really high volume. So I think as long as the ITD lines and metrics agree with my take that I'm going to go with Amorim or pass. Amorim plus 200, 8K, that's pretty good. And then Corey McKenna plus 600 without significant takedown upside, without significant volume upside. I think it's a fade. So I think it's Amorim or pass in this spot for me. Then we got Danny Silva versus Josh Culibao. Okay, so Culibao about a minus 190 favorite at 8.8K. So the pricing is pretty efficient for this fight. Josh Culibao is a low volume, pretty much pure striker. So I'm going to need like plus 130 ITD. And I just don't think, he's plus 240. So he's a fade for me. And then Danny Silva, he did have significant volume in his Contender Series fight, but I just don't see him staying on 200 strikes over 5 rounds. I would highly doubt that. And let's take a look here. Culibao 52. They're projecting him for 52, and they are saying, what are they saying for rivals? They're saying that they're saying Danny Silva should have around 50. So yeah, they're not expecting him to keep up that 200 strike pace. I don't think so either. I think that's an outlier outcome. So I guess if you're chasing it and you're saying that he just in general is very, very high volume, then sure. But with the lack of a good ITD line and him being pretty much a pure striker, and the real-time data in the market is telling us that he's not going to get anywhere close to this 200 strikes, I just think this fight's a fade on both sides. Then we got Mitch Ramirez versus Thiago Moises. Okay, so Thiago Moises is 9.3K, so minus 120 ITD. He has the takedown upside, so as long as we're getting that, I think it's fine. About minus 140, yeah. I think Moises is a good play. And then his opponent plus 600, 6.9K. I just think he's not winning often enough and not a great ITD line, so I think he's a fade. And yeah, I think Moises is a good play with the takedown and finishing upside combined. I think he's a good play. Okay, then we got Osbourne versus Filho. So Filho 8.7K. So yeah, this fight is efficiently priced as far as the Draftkings pricing goes. Filho, he has a touch of takedown upside in this matchup, and he's 8.7K. So plus 140 ITD would be good to see. And he's minus 110. That's pretty elite stuff. I think he's an elite play. And I believe he has takedown upside in this matchup too. Yeah, that plus the takedown upside, I think it makes it a very, very good play. Osbourne on the other side, plus 330 or so, 7.5K. I guess it's fringy. But if you add in the fact that because Filho is looking to be a very good play, that he could become very high owned, and then you could play Osbourne on the other side as leverage, I think, yeah, you can definitely put him in fringe. But otherwise, it would be close to a fade. Okay, then we got Chelsea Chandler versus Josiane Nunes. Another pretty evenly lined fight, 8.4K and 7.8K. It's about right. And Nunes pretty much a pure striker, but she is high volume and she typically has finish upside. So at 8.4K, I'm going to want plus 180 or so ITD. She's like right there. So I'll put her as a good play. Chandler plus 330. I guess if she wins this fight, it's probably because she's able to get takedowns. But I just don't know how many takedowns, how much upside. I don't know if I see it. So I think it's a fade. I think it's a Nunes or pass spot for me. Up next, we got Levy, Mike Davis. So Mike Davis minus 420, maybe a touch of line value. Both of these guys are known to shoot takedowns, which it will be interesting because Levy is known for getting a lot of takedowns, and Mike Davis can also get takedowns. So you can have a few things happen in these kind of fights. You can have the takedowns cancel out and it becomes a striking match. You could have, one of them is just a way better wrestler and then they just pile it on that way. There's a few different outcomes that can happen, but I think I'm going to let the lines drive me to my decision making here. So Mike Davis, they have him at 2.5, and they got the fight expected to go the distance. So, they're expecting 2 to 3 takedowns in this fight, and it's not great at 9.2K. But Mike Davis is active at least with his strikes, with his takedowns, so that is a bonus. He is particularly high volume as well, has good control. So I think that helps him out a bit. ITD line, hopefully we can get minus 110 to feel really confident about playing him. It's like plus 175, plus 180. I think it's a fringe play. I think his takedown upside helps him out a bit here. And then Levy, non-existent ITD line. But if he wins this fight, is it because he's able to implement his takedown game plan? I don't think so. I really don't think so. But I guess you could play that angle. So, but I'm gonna call it a fade for now. I'm gonna call it a Davis or pass spot for me. Okay, then we got Gerald Meerschaert versus Brian Barberena. Gerald Meerschaert, 2-1 favorite, 9.1K. Touch of grappling upside. So minus 110 for Meerschaert, I think will make him a good play. And he's like right there. So I think Meerschaert is a good play. And, the takedown upside as well, which I believe he does have. Yeah, 2 takedowns. Yeah, so I think he's a good play. And then Barberena, plus 200, 7.1K. So like plus 350 ITD, I think would be fine. It's like plus 430, plus 450. Just not good enough. So I think it's a Meerschaert or pass spot. Then we got Pannie Kianzad versus Meerschaert Chiasson. Okay, Chiasson, 9K. Pricing looks good. Same thing, I guess, minus 110. She has some takedown upside, I believe, right? Yeah, she has takedowns, so oof. Yeah, she's like plus 300, so that's no good. And this is what I mean when I say we're just price shopping, right? You have Meerschaert, who's 9.1K, and, they both have takedown upside, but Meerschaert has a way better finishing prop. So obviously he's the better play, just objectively. But if Meerschaert is 60% owned and Chiasson is 1% owned, then obviously we're going to want to play Chiasson. So that's why I'm going to make the ownership video on Friday to, dive into that layer of DFS a bit more. But for this video, Chiasson is just a bad play. And Kianzad, non-existent ITD line, but do we need her to finish? 7.2K. She's scoring 70 to 80 in her wins by decision. It's just not great. So I think this fight's a pass. Okay, then we got a fight that I think is one of the key fights. You got Isaac Dulgarian. This guy is a wrestler. He shoots takedowns and he looks to finish the fight in round 1. He's had all of his wins come by round 1 finish. So historically, he's been a very strong DFS play. And as long as the data agrees with my take there, I'm perfectly happy with playing him. So 8.5K plus 180 or so. He's like right there. So yeah, I think Dulgarian's a good play. And then you got Rodriguez, who typically isn't a finisher, and he's plus 350, which is not great. But could he also score well in a decision? I think it's possible. It's not a guarantee. We haven't seen him have a very solid, reliable win condition that I can count on, but I think that Dulgarian will be pretty popular. And I just like this fight environment as a whole. So I'm going to put Rodriguez as a fine play, actually. And then, yeah, Dulgarian's a good play. Okay, so we're getting there. We got 3 fights left. Oven St. Preux, just not winning often enough, even at 6.8K. I mean, I don't think I'm going to get to that. And then Kennedy, he's a pure striker that's in a heavier weight class. So you know what I say about this, guys. You need him to finish in round 1. If not, round 2 with a lot of volume and knockdowns, especially on a 13-fight card at 9.4K. I don't even care if his ITD line, yeah, minus 270, okay, whatever. I want to see like an even money round one line, honestly. And he's like plus 115, plus 130 without Vig or so. I guess it's okay. But it's not great because I'm telling you, you're gonna need him to finish early. If he does not finish early, I just don't see how he gets there at 9.4K when you have Moises, Meerschaert, even Davis in this salary range, all right there. So I think it's in play, but it's not really a priority of mine, to be honest. Loosa, Brian Battle, co-main event. Loosa is one of those guys where, it's been a small sample size, but so far we've seen that in his wins, he's been able to put on an incredible pace, lots of volume, lots of takedowns, and just absolutely smash in his wins. Now, I do wish we had more of a sample size because it's like, okay, was he able to do that to lower levels of competition? Now he's fighting Brian Battle. Will he be able to do that to him, even if he wins? There's a couple question marks, but I think because of that, he has to be included as a fine play at least. Until I see more, I'm not convinced that he's going to put up 110 in all of his decision wins, like a Merab. Like a Merab is proven to be a guy that will always deliver in DFS when he wins. Whereas Loosa, I'm not convinced yet. So I think it's a fine play just because we have seen the evidence, even though it's a small sample size. And then Brian Battle, 8.6K. Once again, like plus 180-ish. And he's plus 250. That's really poor. So I think Battle's probably a fade. And that's pretty much it. We got the main event now. Marcin Tybura versus Tai Tuivasa. Pick'em fight. You got Tuivasa. He's coming off 3 pretty brutal losses, but all of them were to very high caliber competition. And now he's back in what is a winnable fight. So you got Tuivasa, who has KO1 and KO2 upside. All of his wins have come by round 1, round 2 KO. And he's priced at 8.3K plus 200 round 1 line. I think that's a good play. And then Tybura, he has some takedown upside. I believe the longer the fight goes, it'll favor him. I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked if this fight goes all 5 in a sloppy Tybura decision. But I think, why does this keep doing that? Okay. Let's go back. Okay, whatever. I think both sides of this fight are very strong in DFS, but especially the Tuivasa. I mean, I guess both of them are because Tybura could weather an early storm and then find a round 2 finish with a takedown. But I will say Tybura isn't typically a fantasy point monster. He's not very dangerous, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think if he gets Tuivasa to the ground late in the fight, Tuivasa will probably gas out and just have nothing to offer off his back. So Tybura could just find a finish there anyways. So it doesn't really matter in this matchup. I think both sides are strong. And I think that'll do it. Let's go over it again. Again, this is not, accounting for the whole story as far as lineup construction and ownership. But I hope this should give you an idea of who the best plays are for this weekend. So Kennedy, I think, is a fine play. You're going to need him to finish in round 1. He can do it, but you're going to be in trouble if he doesn't. Moises, he has finish upside, takedown upside, I think, and sub upside, so I think he's a good play. I think Mike Davis is a fringe play just because he's doesn't have the greatest finishing line. Meerschaert has takedown upside, finishing upside. He's a good play. Chiasson's a fade. Grigoriou's a fade. Culibao's a fade. Filho's an elite play. Battle's a fade. Dulgarian's a good play. Nunes is a good play. Tuivasa is a good play. Mckenna's a fade. Amorim is a good play. Tybura's a good play. Chelsea's a fade. Rodriguez, did I say fine? Yeah, I think he's a fine play. Loosa, I think is a fine play. Osbourne, I think, is a fringy play depending on ownership. Danny Silva, I just don't think he's going to be as high volume as people expect, so I'm going to call him a fade. But I could understand if you put him in fringe. Anheliger, I think, is a fine play. Kianzad, Barberena, Levy, Ramirez, OSP, all fades to me. So I hope that helps. I'm going to do a lineup construction video or live stream probably on Friday if you want to tune into that. But that's going to do it. Best of luck, everyone. And I will see you guys on Friday.